It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randywwangradio@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. It's that time of year, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority's annual homeless count, where volunteers go around neighborhoods and they can't get too close for safety reasons, but if they see a tent, they count it. They see an RV, they count it. They see someone with a sleeping bag under an overpass, they maybe count it. Although, you remember last year, for some reason, LAHSA decided they weren't going to count the beaches. That's interesting. In fact, the count is slightly suspect every single year, especially after 2 years of Karen Bass showed all of these decreases that people weren't really seeing, especially in the most visible places where you see homelessness, Skid Row. I always say that I have my own barometer for how Los Angeles County is doing on the homeless, and it is how many fires take place in the Sepulveda Basin. The Sepulveda Basin, where Balboa Park is and where they want to host 3 Olympic events in just 2 years, has a whole bunch of people living in it. And those people set fires. And last year, over 250 fires were set in the basin. So no, I don't think the number is down. But let's hear what LAHSA has to say. Here is their press conference from last night. Oh, it's on Channel 35, so we got to have the royalty-free music start us off here. It's kind of haunting for a homeless count, although I don't know what the appropriate music would be.
Hi, everyone. My name is Geeta O'Neill, and I'm the interim CEO for LAHSA.
Now, why is Geeta O'Neill the interim CEO for LAHSA? Well, that's because Karen Bass's handpicked CEO for LAHSA, Dr. Felicia Adams-Kellum, had to resign in shame. She says that just her time was done, but there were so many reports, including a lawsuit that was an $800,000 settlement with the staffer who was whistleblowing on a whole bunch of things. The information finally did come to light about all the ways that they were spending money they weren't accountable for. Dr. Felicia Adams-Kellum writing a check to her husband's nonprofit from LAHSA, some inappropriate behavior at a party in D.C., just to name a few things. She comes from, by the way, the St. Joseph Center in Venice, which was, I always found suspect, the homeless organization that Mike Bonnet wanted to make sure we spent as much money as possible on, even though when he was city councilor for Venice, homelessness was never worse. Dr. Felicia Adams-Kellum was paid $435,000 a year and no longer works for LAHSA. So now we have Geeta instead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Geeta O'Neill, and I'm the interim CEO for LAHSA. Welcome to our launch.
Guys, you can fade out the music. She's into this thing already.
To our launch, 2026, the Greater Los Angeles Homeless Count. It's kind of our Super Bowl, so we're glad you guys are here.
Okay. This goes for not just government agencies. This goes for any business, any entity. Stop calling whatever your big thing is your Super Bowl. Just stop it. It's a cliche.
And thank you to Adam Murray for letting us use this lovely space today at the Intercity Law Center. I'm proud to be joined by this fantastic group of leaders tonight, including...
Boy, the butt kissing is beginning because, of course, this agency has nothing but successes to report.
Councilman Nithya Raman.
Oh, of course. Nithya is a special case. You remember the entire scandal that went on at the LA City Council. You know, the one with Nuri Martinez.
Why are people with us?
And Kevin De Leon.
Frankly.
And Gil Cedillo, where they were dividing up the city in a redistricting scam. That whole situation was so that they could move Nithya from Koreatown into Sherman Oaks. And they thought if they did that, the homeowners in Sherman Oaks would reject the insanity that is Nithya Raman, and she would not get reelected. Turns out, Nithya made it to a over 50% showing in the June primary in 2024 and won that race outright. So that didn't work. But Nithya has been a disaster. Doesn't seem to matter to the voters of Los Angeles.
Councilman Nithya Raman, LAHSA Chair Amber Sheik, and Danielle Urbina from Supervisor Solis's office.
Hilda couldn't even show up for this. Now, the county has somewhat divorced themselves from LAHSA. In fact, Lindsay Horvath and Catherine Barger have started up their own homeless department, which is made up of almost the same amount of people, and it's the same ideology, so we're going to get the same result, but now we're paying for more.
I want to give a special thank you to our Lived Experience Advisory Board Treasurer, Martin Hogan.
That's a job.
For joining us and grounding us all in why the homeless count is so important. For the next 3 nights, LAHSA will be joined by thousands of volunteers at nearly 150 sites across LA County.
Unless they skip the beaches again this year.
We're conducting the largest point-in-time count in the entire nation. They do so at this time of great change in our Los Angeles homeless response. For the first time, there we go. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, got to talk into the mic. Come on, Gita.
For the first time since Los Angeles began conducting an annual homeless account, unsheltered homelessness went down 2 years in a row. This is both in the city and in the county, in years 2024, and 2025.
And wait, you just said 2025 twice. Okay.
And we all know that did not happen by accident. It happened because this community here chose collaboration, data, and innovation over despair.
I just heard platitude, platitude, platitude.
Last year's homeless count showed something many Angelenos have been waiting to see. Proof that all of their efforts were finally working.
And where is that proof? Hey, please, this is an open forum. If you have seen with your own eyes significant improvement in the county over the last 2 years, something that was disgusting and now it's pristine, please give us a call. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, because if there are successes, we should celebrate them. But when they don't have any specifics, I have a hard time believing it, especially when you look at the most visible place in the whole world for homelessness, Skid Row, and it looks as awful as it ever has. So where is all this money going?
The partnership represented here tonight is turning policy into progress and
cliche
and tents into front doors.
I wonder how much she's getting paid to be the interim director, because Valicia Adams-Kellum was getting $430,000 a year for this job.
But today, the progress is at risk. Since April 2025, our rehousing system has began to feel the real and immediate impact of funding reductions. This month, we were forced to pause time-limited subsidies, which are our rental subsidy, one of the most fastest and most effective tools in moving people from the street into stable housing.
Yes, because if you ever wondered what permanent supportive housing means, it means that you, the taxpayer, are subsidizing that rent.
By the end of this fiscal year, nearly 60% of our time-limited subsidy will be gone. This is not the only pressure point. The federal continuum of care funding is uncertain, putting thousands of placements at risk. HUD emergency housing vouchers are also set to expire, potentially forcing thousands of Angelenos back into homelessness by the year's end.
Okay, it sure seems like, we're starting to upfront a whole bunch of reasons for why the number's going to go up.
State homeless funding has been delayed and cut by about 50%. And
yeah, you can't blame this on the feds. The state has cut their local allotments, something called HAP funding.
And here at home even, the county is staring down a $300 million funding gap.
Everyone's cutting your budget.
So to be clear,
of course, this is the same organization that literally could not account for millions and millions of dollars spent. Even with an audit, a court-ordered audit, they still can't tell you where the money went.
So to be clear, all is not going to get better. When proven solutions lose funding, homelessness doesn't stay flat. It may rise.
What's the proven solution? Where's the proof in that?
As the remaining homeless count calculations are finalized, we face the very real possibility that the next numbers will show an increase.
And Karen Bass is going to run re-election. Well, here's the thing. The June primary is going to probably happen before these numbers are released, and she might win that outright with more than 50% of the vote. So wouldn't that be fun?
Not because solutions...
Now, of course, this is the county as well as the city, but the city is the vast majority of this.
Not because...
It's like, what, 75,000 in the county and 48,000 in the city? Most of it is the city of Los Angeles, a city I would like to move out of.
Not because solutions failed, but because the resources did.
Can I play that for you one more time?
We face the very real possibility that the next numbers will show an increase. Not because solutions failed, but because the resources did.
The interim chief of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority says their solutions work, but they don't have enough money, and the numbers are going to go up. This is what they're saying before the count. So I'm going to open up the phones right now at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think the problem in Los Angeles County when it comes to homelessness is that they just don't have enough money to solve this problem? Do you think more money is the answer here? Because didn't we just double the homeless tax in Los Angeles County? Yes, we did. Los Angeles County opened up a new department and immediately we're in a deficit because they still say they don't have enough money. Do you think a lack of money is the reason that the problem persists in Los Angeles? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Call in and react to this statement.
We face the very real possibility that the next numbers will show an increase. Not because solutions failed, but because the resources did.
It wasn't that our solutions failed, it's that we just didn't have enough money.
Los Angeles has shown that progress is possible. The question is now whether we will protect it or walk away from it when it's working.
Also, can we clarify, where is it working? Please, tell me. Show me the street corner.
These changes mean our mission tonight is more important than ever. This makes the effort of LAHSA staff and all of our volunteers, over 4,500 volunteers in this count alone, more than ever important over these 3 nights. The information gathered from this year's homeless count is going to be invaluable to policymakers at all levels of government, the county, the state, the city, and the federal government.
Although I don't know, it sure seems that if the number goes up, they need more money. If the number goes down, they need more money. I don't know what to say. All right, enough of Gita. Let's hear what Nithya has to say.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Wonderful. Thank you so much, Gita, for that introduction and for taking on a leadership role at a time when this leadership is so crucial. And I want to thank everyone at LAHSA and at the Inner City Law Center for hosting us here tonight.
Boy, it's starting like an acceptance speech at the Oscars already.
Over the last 2 years, as Gita said, we have seen measurable drops in unsheltered homelessness in the city of Los Angeles.
Where? Please just tell me where. Tell me the street that is cleaner now than it was 2 years ago. Please. I'll drive by it.
Thanks to incredible work and investments, although we all know there is so much more work to be done. The Los Angeles homeless count is only one, though, of many tools that we can use for measuring progress and for addressing our humanitarian crisis.
We can also measure it by how much money we spent.
An accurate count is required by the federal government in order to get resources, and it allows us to target services and progress. But going forward, the tools that voters voted in through Measure A will actually give us multiple ways to measure progress on homelessness.
And I want to make sure you remember that, because later on in the hour, we're going to go through. We're going to actually see what those goals are and what the current statistics of the Measure A website have, because it's up and the numbers are bizarre.
That voters voted in through Measure A will actually give us multiple ways to measure progress on homelessness and multiple ways to hold the system accountable.
Accountability. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Do you think the problem with our inability to solve the homeless problem in Los Angeles County is just because we don't have enough money? Let's go to Scott in Glendora. Scott, hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing great.
So I think that the homeless problem, there are three different categories, like rough categories of homeless people. Some of them are in a definite hardship and don't want to be homeless, and those ones we should throw money at and help them to rehab. But I think that there's a lot of them out there, and I work in the field, and I talk to a lot of them regularly. There's a lot of them out there that love being homeless. There's a zero responsibility situation, and that's what they really love. And then there's the drug addicts. So the second two groups, I think they all need to go to jail and get rehabbed that way, and there's no amount of money that can fix it. And I think that what we've shown in the past, throwing money at it, absolutely doesn't work. And the only way we're going to get around this whole thing is to not enable these people. Enablement, like any drug situation, anybody who's been through AA or whatever like that, they'll tell you it doesn't work. So as long as we're paying for them to have a comfortable life with no responsibility, they will continue to do so, is my opinion.
I think you make a really, really, really strong point. Thanks so much for the call, Scott. Look, there is so much enabling going on, and that enabling has led to thousands of deaths in our streets every single year, which you could also argue would make up for the reductions that we're counting for in homelessness. Even though we're not seeing a reduction in MacArthur Park, we're not seeing a reduction in Skid Row, those areas are even looking worse. Even as Karen Bass says, we're inviting the whirl here. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. The interim head of LAHSA says, we're losing funding, which means the numbers are going to go up.
We face the very real possibility that the next numbers will show an increase. Not because solutions failed, but because the resources did.
Do you think the problem with Los Angeles' solutions to homelessness is just that there's not enough funding? Give us a call, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. We'll take your calls next, and we'll go through the Measure A dashboard. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, I try to read and respond to every email that I get. You can do so at randywangradio@gmail.com. That's randywangradio@gmail.com. Scott writes in, and Scott is a hawk on this subject. The reduction of homelessness in the city of Los Angeles was officially just 1,008 in 2024. In 2025, it was just 1,553. None of these public officials will ever acknowledge that the homeless deaths are embedded in this supposed homeless reduction. I mean, let's not forget when Karen Bass ran for mayor in 2022. She ran because of the human suffering that was on the streets, where she said 5 people were dying of overdose every single day, which would be about 1,800 people. Now the number is 7. So that means 2,500 we're losing to overdose. And that is a tragedy, but that is a tragedy that we are enabling every single day. And what do you know? The new mixes of the drugs aren't there. Narcan doesn't work. So Eunice Hernandez sending Narcan into MacArthur Park, that is not solving the problem. We'll continue with the LAHSA press conference on the homeless count that is going on right now. And since Nithya brought it up, we'll start looking at Measure A's dashboard, where we can track the progress of Measure A. We're going to go into the Measure A progress tracker and see where that doubling of the sales tax is going to and the numbers that they are claiming, whether they are good or bad. And let me just say, with the briefest overview, the numbers that are in this Measure A dashboard are kind of shocking. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think we're just not spending enough money on our homeless problem? What do you say? Give us a call, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. We'll take your calls and we'll go through the Measure A dashboard next. Might even have time for Nithya. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. The Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority's annual count is going on right now, but because of cuts that are happening to funding from federal sources, state sources, and county sources, they say the number's going to go up this year.
We face the very real possibility that the next numbers will show an increase. Not because solutions failed, but because the resources did.
Do you think the failure to deal with the homeless in Los Angeles County is just a lack of funding? 800-222-5222. Let's start with John in Long Beach. John, hello.
Hey, Randy. How are you? I was working downtown a couple weeks ago. We were right on the outskirts of Skid Row. And, every time I go there, it gets worse and worse and worse. And I don't think those people are doing anything. My daughter worked for the city of Long Beach, and she worked with some of those agencies. And I have another young friend that works downtown who's a social worker like my daughter, who works for one of those agencies, and she was all gung-ho when she went to work for them. She's so disenchanted. She's worked there less than a year. She's about ready to walk out because she said they don't do anything. They've got all these big bosses that walk around, and they do not do anything for anyone. They just try to shuffle them off to somewhere else, give them a sandwich, and send them back out on the street. And she's always trying to advocate for these people, and she basically was kind of told, but not directly, just don't make any waves while you're here. So no, it's not funding. It's a lack of the people in charge caring about anything and stuffing their own pockets and all their friends' pockets full of cash.
Well, and to that point, John, we have seen such a massive attrition rate in the people who did get into this work for the right reasons. The ground level social workers, they quit because they are so disillusioned by how the system works and how the system doesn't actually help the people they say they're trying to help.
Exactly. That's why my daughter quit working she worked for a city agency and, in health and human services, and that was their job, to advocate for these people, and they really didn't do anything. And she said everybody that worked there was so apathetic, and she went there, all concerned and going to help anybody, and her boss basically told her, well, something, honey, this may not be the job for you. And they made it so miserable on her that she finally left because of that reason.
I hear stories like that every single day, and I am not surprised at all. And they do not care. All they care about is keeping the funding going, keeping their friends' pockets lined. But when it comes to actually solving the problem, we have not seen noticeable results. John, thank you so much for the call. As always, appreciate it. By the way, I'm checking out the new website for the new county department. You can go to homeless.lacounty.gov. And they've got their Measure A hub. We'll look at that in a minute. But speaking of Skid Row, which again is the most visible place maybe in the whole world for this, where we have not really seen any kind of impact, when you go on their What They Do page, they actually have an initiative, the Skid Row Action Plan. What is the Skid Row Action Plan? Well, it's a roadmap that aims to dramatically expand housing and other homeless services downtown while supporting the development of a culturally vibrant and thriving Skid Row community. Okay, well, that hasn't happened yet. Specifically, the plan sets priorities to support safety and wellness in Skid Row by expanding access to interim and permanent housing, healthcare, harm reduction, and other supportive services and economic opportunity. Now, the one that you really have to pay attention there is harm reduction, because harm reduction leads to a lot of this money that is supposed to go help people get off of Skid Row, keep them there. What do I mean? Well, let me give you an example of harm reduction. There is an organization, they actually have a storefront in Skid Row, and they're called Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles. And they are not doctors. No. The nonprofit Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles is paid by your tax dollars to pass out needles and pipes and other paraphernalia to the people on Skid Row. There are literally drug dealers standing outside the storefront constantly because there is no enforcement. And we wonder why the problem doesn't get any worse. So what exactly is the Skid Row action plan? Well, in 2022, according to the 2022 homeless count, about 4,400 people were experiencing homeless in Skid Row, and of those, over 2,700 were unsheltered. As the epicenter of homelessness in the nation, Skid Row also experienced the highest overdose rate in the country, in LA County. Acknowledging the importance of creating a healthy and safer community in a neighborhood that's been shaped by decades of structural and systemic inequalities, the Board of Supervisors passed a motion introduced by Hilda Solis to create this action plan. So what does it do? So far, I haven't found it. In June 2023, Housing for Health and Partners were awarded $60 million by the state to provide housing and services to an estimated 2,500 individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness on Skid Row. Well, isn't that about half? Because the problem's not half better. You could argue the problem is just as bad. This funding served as a catalyst for the Skid Row Action Plan, a $280 million initiative developed in collaboration with community members, business owners, and service providers. So far, they haven't said where any of this money is going and what this plan is. Some of their projects are increasing the availability of safe interim housing and opening more pathways from interim to permanent housing, increasing the availability and access to safe permanent housing, creating a safe services space that centralizes access to a wide range of care services, expanding access to health and behavioral health care, creating a harm reduction health hub that increases the safety and well-being of those who use drugs through holistic support. Should I read that one more time? What is the Skid Row Action Plan? It's to create a harm reduction health hub that increases the safety and well-being of those who use drugs through holistic support. I don't think it's working. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. When we come back, we'll read your emails and we'll find out what is in the Measure A hub that is supposed to hold your local elected officials accountable for the doubling of the sales tax that we voted for? 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you can do so at randywangradio@gmail.com. Greg writes in and says, how bad is it that LA's Homeless Counting Day is their Super Bowl? I work on the streets of LA every day. It has not gone down, and if they want more money, show us what has been done with the money they've been given first. P.S. You said the lady before Gita resigned in shame. She resigned, but I don't think they're capable of shame. Okay, I got a little homework assignment for you. If you're at home and you're on your computer, I want you to follow along with me as we're going to try to track the progress towards Measure A goals. That is the doubling of the homeless tax. So go to the new website, homeless.lacounty.gov. Then you're going to click on Measure A Hub. Then you're going to scroll down till you see a button that says Track Progress towards Measure A Goals. We're going to be looking at that, the progress that has already been made with your homeless money according to Los Angeles County. And this is according to LAHSA and the other systems that they have. And the numbers, according to them, don't even look good right now. So we'll give you those numbers next. You can check this out for yourself. As far as I know, nobody has actually looked at this website before. Because if they had, believe you me, these numbers would be reported because they're worse than the numbers you think they are. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Before we get to the Measure A tracker, let's go to Valerie in Redondo. Valerie, hello.
Call. They're doing this homeless count, and they're counting all these people. How about all the animals that all these homeless people are breeding for drug money? There are countless dogs being neglected and abused on Skid Row. It's absolutely heartbreaking what our city leaders have allowed to happen. All on their watch, it has become so rampant, the trafficking down there. And it's frustrating because there is no word on this in the media. We're euthanizing animals right and left in Los Angeles County. And these people that are living on these lawless streets that are doing drugs are basically free to just have these animals continue to breed. And no one's taking these dogs away from them. It's absolutely infuriating.
Well, we have all of these ordinances that are supposed to go against backyard breeders, but where it's literally happening on the street in your face, the city of the county don't want to do anything about it. And you're right, it is the suffering that is going on out there. Yes, there is human suffering going on out there, but the canine and dog suffering that is going on out there is unconscionable. And the fact that we just look the other way is a failure on every single level. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the tracker here, the Measure A goals, because the first thing that you're going to notice is that when it comes to the first goal is how many people they say they serve every single year. And I would imagine that these are individual people because off the top of your head, you probably believe that the number that got counted last year and the year before in the county is somewhere around 70,000. Well, according to the LA County Measure A tracker, in 2024, the number of people that they served was 132,000. So that's double the number. Now, they say, so already I'm like, wait a second. There's 132,000. Now that counts as sheltered and unsheltered, but that is a massive, massive number. Now, the unsheltered population, they say, has gone down. They say that the unsheltered population in the county as of 2025 is only 47,000. So does that mean that the other 70,000 are in shelters? And how many of them exit? Because they have like a statistic. How many went into interim housing? Well, last year in 2024, they had 22,000 that were unsheltered that went into interim housing. But wait, isn't that half of the unsheltered number? It already sounds confusing, right? Well, how many of those people in interim housing, which is like motels and shelters, went to, of course, permanent supportive subsidized housing? Well, in 2024, of that 22,000, it was about 5,000. Nowhere here is a number of how many people got their lives together to the point where they are now able to support themselves. They now have job. They now have their own apartment. Like, there's no statistic for when they stop becoming a ward of the state. So the number just keeps seeming to be going up, and you wonder where all the money is going. Well, if nobody ever actually exits homelessness, if they never actually get their lives back on track, if we're just constantly supporting them, that's completely unsustainable. Okay, now according to LAHSA's own numbers, how many people say that they have a serious mental illness? About 14,000. I'm not buying that. You have to, I guess, self-diagnose yourself. How many say that you have a substance use disorder? That's about 9,000. But that's only. If you only say you have a mental illness, 14,000. If you only have substance use, that's 9,000. If you have both, that's 21,000. So 21,000 plus 9,000, that is 30,000 plus 14,000. You're looking at about 44,000, according to LA County's own numbers, of people that are on the streets every single day that are either seriously addicted to drugs or severely mentally ill or both. That is a failure on every single level. Because every day we're not taking care of the mentally ill, is these people cannot take care of themselves. And all of the laws that we have passed to reform our mental health services system hasn't been enough. Care Court hasn't been enough. And the fact that we allow thousands of drug addicted to lay about and die on the streets every day, that is a failure as well. How many people went into permanent housing and remained housed like they didn't leave the program? Well, we only have numbers up till 2022 for that. Okay, now here's the statistic that I'm trying to really wrap my head around. And this is probably the one that I don't know if I'm buying. And maybe it tells a completely different story. But if you remember, the first page of the Measure A tracker shows that they served 132,000 people in LA County in 2024, which again is way higher than the number we thought it was. They have on page 5 of this a number that is the service participants who are newly homeless, like not ones that have been on the streets for years, like when you see the stories of people on Skid Row and they've been there for a decade, some have been there for 2 decades. Newly homeless, I would imagine, means that you became homeless that year. Well, according to LA County in 2024, and again, these are the years before all of these funding cuts, that number was 81,000. So of the 130,000, 80,000 were newly homeless. Yeah, unless a whole bunch of people are moving here because this is where all the services are, and this is also where we're pretty lax on the drug laws, these numbers are very difficult. So here are the goals. Goal number 1 is to decrease unsheltered homelessness. They want to do that and by 2030, and currently they are 30% of the way there. Goal number 2, they want to decrease homelessness among people with mental health and substance use disorders. Currently, they are so far behind on the progress, they are at negative 70%. Goal number 3, increase the people permanently housed. They are negative 5% to their progress on that one. And of course, decrease the people falling into homelessness. According to their own numbers, the county is negative 123% on that goal. Now, this just started in 2024. They've only had the funding for a year, but they claim that they're going to meet all these goals by 2030. And I'm here to tell you, no, they're not. So check this out for yourself. There's a lot more data on here, but so far, all of the data is really, really bad. But what are we going to do? Tax ourselves even more because they'll definitely have enough money to spend on this. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show. Thank you for your calls and your emails. You ever miss an episode of this show or you want to go back and listen to the backlog? Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcast. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.